Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the man who may or may not be coming to PlayStation 3 to 6 months after release on the main platform, Josh Finney.
Man, let me tell you, the absolute meltdown I have seen from two different sides of the plastic console war this week is absolutely fascinating to watch.
Yeah, it's been.
We're gonna go really in depth on it on Xbox Casuals next Monday, but yeah, if you don't know what Corey's talking about, Indiana Jones was the basically the closer for Jeff Keighley's opening night live at Gamescom on Tuesday, and
it looks fucking rad. By the way,
it looks phenomenal. Troy Baker was narrating over footage of the game and mocap performances. It looks incredible. It genuinely, like, maybe one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Which, if you've ever played a Machine Games game that's not Wolfenstein Youngblood, you should not be surprised by that.
Every time I see this game, it looks better and better and better.
And it's kind of wild because this game was made in about 3.5 years.
Isn't that insane?
That it was made. It started production in late 2020. Like, they were negotiating the rights for Indiana Jones when Microsoft was negotiating to buy Bethesda.
Yeah.
So, and then we didn't see it. People were so worried because we hadn't seen anything from this game. Nothing had been seen at all. And then all of a sudden this year, bam, 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 bam. That is how I want these reveals to go. We got gameplay in February. We got more in June. We got another blowout here. And there was a behind closed doors presentation at Gamescom. There's previews out. Like, this is how a game from Xbox should be shown. This is like PlayStation level shit. How they've been rolling this out. And funny enough, they announced, and I just got to know what's going through Phil Spencer's mind as they show that on screen, that it's coming to Xbox and PC on December 9th, and then next spring, it's coming to PS5.
Yeah.
Which you and I have been saying for years, this was going to all the way back. You can go find old episodes of Arsenal X, our old Xbox show, and when they announced this, Corey, Colonel Panic, and I all said, this is going to come to PlayStation.
Yep.
Every single one of us, the day it was announced, we're like, yep, it's coming to PlayStation.
Yeah.
Because you can't get an IP like that when you're in a position like Microsoft and not make it multi-platform.
Right.
Indiana Jones on itself is not profitable.
Yeah, this was my thing, right? And this was before the movie even came out. Like,
Yep.
No offense to Indiana Jones, as much as I love it, not a top tier franchise anymore.
Nope.
Right? It hasn't been in a long time. It being a console exclusive on the third ranking console out right now, probably not a great financial decision for any party involved. And so they made either they made a business decision or Disney forced their hand to make a business decision, which I think it was probably a little column A, a little column B. That we got to get this out on more platforms to try to make that money, because that is you got to pay the mouse, and that is an expensive looking game.
Yeah, that's a very expensive looking game from a very talented team. Todd Howard once said this was the IP that was like the Mount Everest for him, essentially. Like, this was his dream IP to work with.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for this.
He said that way back before they even like this was like 360 era.
He said this and Star Trek were like the dreams for him.
Yeah.
And Starfield was born out of them not being able to get Star Trek finalized.
Yeah.
And that was because old Bethesda did not want to pay for it. Part of me wonders if when they were doing the negotiations to get the Indiana Jones rights, if, Microsoft, because Microsoft would have to be made aware of any business transactions they had going on. They were like, no, push for it. Like, we'll pay it. We'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, we want this.
Yeah.
We all said, like, hey, that's a great IP to try and take on. If you're Microsoft, they've long searched for an answer to Naughty Dog in terms of a single player action adventure. There's DLC that's going to come for this, story DLC.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty apprehensive when we announce that shit before games come out. But if it's like Starfield and you're going to take a full year to develop it, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they also took a full what was it, 16 or 18 months to do the Wolfenstein DLC for the Old Blood.
So I mean, Old Blood ended up being a standalone.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm okay with it. Like, if it takes that route or like the route that Lost Legacy did for Uncharted, I'm okay with that. I don't think it needs to necessarily be a standalone, but it looks like the DLC is going to be priced at about $30, so similar to Shattered Space for Starfield. So that's the price of like what Far Harbor was, what Shivering Isles was for Oblivion.
Yep.
That's kind of my standard here now. Like I'm expecting a several hour DLC, not just like, oh, here's an hour or two, long quest line and you're done. I'm expecting something more from it. I'm very excited for this game. It looks cool. We got some other really cool announcements out of opening night live though.
Yeah. Borderlands 4.
Borderlands 4. That's one that I know a lot of people who listen to the show are really excited for. I wish we had gotten like gameplay from it. But I suspect gameplay is coming this weekend or next weekend at PAX.
Yeah, I'm gonna try really hard to go see something about Borderlands, because I know like as much as we like to make fun of Randy Pitchford, Borderlands is a big game, right?
Borderlands is a very big game, especially in the looter shooter genre. Like it is like it's the OG daddy.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Borderlands, you remember that old Game Informer cover with the original vision for Borderlands and how different it was?
The brown, like, realistic looking...
Yeah, I've been reminded about that with Game Informer shutting down. That's the cover I've been seeing the most. And I was like, damn, they really did get the exclusives.
Yeah.
It's funny because before Borderlands, like, Gearbox was just known for Brothers in Arms.
Yeah.
Or if you were on PC, Homeworld. That was about it.
And the
Borderlands like really put them on the map there. There's a reason why them and 2K have just milked the shit out of the franchise.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, where do we go from here? Like, I've seen people speculate that like, oh, it's going to be a multiverse. It's going to be like what like this what would have happened. This is what would happen if you didn't kill Handsome Jack in Borderlands 2 and this and that. Like, so I am interested to see where they go. I have a feeling by the time this comes out, it's definitely a fall game next year. This is fall 25. And I think especially if you go without having a major Destiny DLC, and there's rumors that you're not going to have a major Call of Duty next year, it's just going to be a DLC. Borderlands has an entry point to just come in and kind of retake that crown for a little while.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in it. I like it. I'm here for fun games with my friends. Like, I'm one of those, like, I don't need to grind a game forever. If I get 30, 40 hours of enjoyment out of this with my friends, it's worth it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred continues to look awesome. Very excited that you can hire mercenaries in-game now. Can't wait for that. New endgame, obviously new storylines, new classes. Really excited for that. That's only about a month away. What else did we get there? Mafia, the Old Country. Sounds really cool. That's like something we've never seen with a mobster game. 1900 Sicily.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of like the beginning of like Godfather 3, when it's showing the young, or is it Godfather 3 or is it Godfather 2 that shows young Vito in Sicily? It might be Godfather 2. I don't really remember, honestly. Everything after 1 blurs for me as much as I like part 2. So this is like something that's never really been explored in a game. I'm interested in that. I think the coolest announcement was probably Secret Level.
Yeah, Secret Level.
Awesome. The anthology series from Amazon and Blur Studios.
Yeah.
If you've ever wondered, why can't you just make a movie, using the cinematics from World of Warcraft or, the Old Republic or Halo 2 Anniversary? Well, here's your answer. 3 years to make this.
You know who's doing the PR for that?
CJ?
No, Liana.
Oh, yeah.
So
I did see her tweeting about that. She's been doing a few Amazon shows lately.
Yeah, she did Fallout. So good for
her. Secret Level is really cool. It's from Tim Miller is heading it up. If you don't know Tim Miller, he did the original Deadpool movie. It really irked me when Jeff Keighley was like the creator of Deadpool. I'm like, no, that's Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
And I'm like screaming in my seat at him. But it's going to be 15 different universes that each one is going to have its own episode. We don't know how long they are. I was talking about this with a friend. I expect them to be like 12 to 15 minutes at most.
Yeah,
an episode because
Blur, right?
I mean, yeah, that's Blur cinematics are very expensive.
Yeah,
very expensive. But some of some of the worlds being explored are Armored Core, which is starring Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I saw that.
The Outer Worlds, which I adore. The Outer Worlds. Josh Sawyer, director of Pentiment over there at Obsidian, has confirmed he has seen the full Outer Worlds episode and says that it is one of the best things he's ever seen. He's like, this is incredible. If you liked the game, you're gonna love this.
Good.
Yeah, very good. There was there were brief glimpses of several PlayStation characters. We saw Jin from Ghost of Tsushima. We saw Kratos from God of War. That is speculated to be a PlayStation anthology episode, which has got some people speculating that maybe it's just like PlayStation All-Stars, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Which that would be an interesting way to revive the brand. Concord is getting its own episode.
Mm-hmm.
Mega Man is getting one.
Yeah.
We like Mega Man in this house.
Yep.
Who else? What else was it? God, I need to pull up a whole list of what we had. So let me pull up old Paul Tat Warhammer 40K. This would have been great to have talked to Jeff Gardner about. He's a huge Warhammer guy. Pac-Man, Unreal Tournament, which I know has both of us excited. New World, Spelunky, that could be a cool episode. Honor of Kings, Sifu, Crossfire, Exodus, and Corey, you already know that me and A1 Johnny are here for this one. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
For the 50th anniversary. I think that this is just super cool.
Yeah, what a cool idea.
This is very cool. If you've never seen Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, this is from Blur made that as well. Blur made that. This looks really cool. It started getting rumored the week before. There were some leaks about it, but the rumor that I had been hearing was it was only PlayStation franchises. So imagine my shock when we see it getting revealed, and I'm like, wait a second, that looks like the Outer Worlds cover art up there. And lo and behold, it in fact was. So that is very cool. I'm very interested to see how long these are.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I think it's a cool way for like series that like might not be able to sustain a full show to get something like this. And that leads us into our first question tonight. I'm going to throw this in here.
Questions?
Tiger Jesus writes in and says, do you see Destiny appearing in a season 2 of Amazon's secret level show? I talked about this with our friend Ray the other night, and I was a little surprised that it wasn't part of this. And then we kind of did the math, and we're like, well, 3 years, Bungie hadn't been bought by Sony yet. If this was already in production back in 2021. But at the same time, like, Sony clearly had a lot of faith in Concord back then, if Concord was one of the ones they agreed on.
By the way, did you see Concord's been in development for 8 years?
I did not. Jesus Christ.
8 years.
8 years. 8 years, and you released on the same day as Black Myth Wukong. Imagine that. Fucking imagine. I would like to see Destiny in a season 2. I think that would be a great like jumping off point to gauge some interest. I mean, we already know there's interest there, right? The question then becomes like, what story do you even begin to tell? Like, if you were to do something like that, because it's got to be something that can fit in 15 minutes. My proposal would be follow a character that we already know. Maybe show Eris's fire team during the Great Disaster.
Yeah.
Maybe Zavala in the Dark Ages. Saladin forming the Iron Lords. Like, there are things you can do. You can't follow the Guardian. That's the only thing you can't do. But I think there's some cool things you could do. Maybe you do one about Cade's exploits out in the Cade and Andal Brask out in the field. That'd be a cool way to keep Nathan Fillion involved.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, there's so many good voice actors in Destiny that you can use. I mean, like, you got Keith David, you've got Nathan Fillion, you can use Brandon O'Neill. There's some great people you could use here. You could do one about Saint 14's exploits. You could do one about Osiris. Like, show us some things that are only referenced in the lore. Osiris getting expelled from the city and forming the cult of Osiris on Mercury. There's things you could do. I don't know. Elsie jumping through time could be a really cool one you do.
That would be a really interesting one of her time, like the time jumping
The
of
time
her.
jumping, the dark future, like there's things you can tell there. But I do think that Paul in his article says, some of these may be jumping off points for sequels,
Yeah.
like for Concord and for Outer Worlds, and I agree with that. Like for instance, for me, an Outer Worlds one is hard to imagine without Pavarti being a big part of it.
Hmm.
The breakout NPC character. By then, the game had been out for 2 years. We all knew it critically acclaimed for the writing and the direction. Um, I do think that Destiny could realistically be part of one, and it would be part of Sony like honoring the contract essentially
Hmm.
and being like, "Hey, we did help you get into film and TV." Wink, wink. The
Nudge,
problem is
nudge.
you fired everyone who understands the story and the lore. So, um, what
Oh,
other games would you want to see featured? I don't know, Corey. Do you have any?
I mean,
It's
man, it's
just a
probably
couple, like just a couple that we'd love to see. I'd love to see Metroid.
yeah. I
I
think a
don't think
Metroid
Nintendo would
would.
ever allow it, but
Yeah, I think Nintendo would clearly would want to do something with that on their own, but I think that would be super cool.
because
Um,
this seems like it's leaning like towards with the exception of Mega Man and Pac Man, it seems like it's skewing more mature,
hmm.
like
You
towards
know, what would
more
be
adult franchises, I would say, or like I don't
yeah.
know, not
You know, what would be
family ones.
yeah. You know what would be really fun to see, and I this is probably the exact opposite of what they're aiming for, but like a Sea of Thieves one,
Ooh, you could do
like
Sea
a
of
fun pirate
Thieves.
adventure,
So I feel like Sony and
or like a
Microsoft, I think, are
non-adventure.
using this to gauge interest,
Hmm.
definitely. And like,
Yeah,
okay, which ones do we want to let them do like a full on
yeah.
thing of?
Yeah, but like if you do like a Sea of Thieves, like a joke of like a pirate adventure, but they never leave the port. They're just all like trying to figure out how the ship works or something.
Yeah, I think that could be cool. I would like to see if Obsidian had a good time doing this. I think this would be a great way to grow Pillars of Eternity,
Hmm.
to grow the world
Yeah,
of Aora, because we're already getting Avowed this year or early next year. I got to stop saying this year. Early next year, we're getting Avowed.
yeah,
I wonder if maybe you could get a series set in Starfield.
yeah,
Not a series, but like a short. Give me
yeah,
a 15-minute short. Like, what's that hurting?
yeah. Or like since Capcom seems to be on board, do Monster Hunter right this time instead of the movie.
Monster Hunter would be a great one.
Yeah,
Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry comes to mind for me.
yeah,
I think that's a no-brainer. The anime isn't very good, so I would really like to see Devil May Cry done properly.
yeah,
But that I feel like that would be just like watching the game. Funny enough,
yeah.
like with some of these, it's like okay, the cinematics are already so movie-like that I
Hmm.
don't know about this. Like it feels like the inclusion of Ghost of Tsushima and God of War is there to be like, hey, remember these franchises exist and they are getting shows/movies soon.
Hmm.
Um, but I think a standalone God of War or Ghost of Tsushima one could work really well.
Hmm.
Um, because those
Like
are
a God of
obviously those are
War,
already beloved games.
yeah, like a God of War one that takes place in between the Greek games and the Norse games, I think would be really interesting.
I think that could be really cool. Or even something showing what happens between 2018 and Ragnarok.
Yeah.
That way you can still keep Atreus in it.
Hmm. We don't need a trace.
Um, what?
So we don't need a trace.
Okay, most of us like Atreus. I feel like Horizon is one that if you did a second season, Horizon would get one.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm just looking through my games library right now to see if
Give
there's
me
anything that
Halo.
sticks out.
Give me Halo.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Control.
Yeah, Control's effect. Control or Alan Wake. Both of them would be great.
Yeah, or something like set in that universe.
Yeah, just something connecting Quantum Break to the other games.
Yeah.
Since we're never going to get a Quantum Break 2, show me what happens when Jack does the final jump back.
Yeah.
And he comes to the end of time, which is something that's addressed in the other games.
Hmm.
You've got the actors already there.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me that Sean Ashmore, Dominic Monaghan, and Fucking Aidan Gillen wouldn't show up to do another Quantum Break thing. Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, Deathloop would be cool.
If FromSoft is already involved on the level of Armored Core, I could see them doing something set in the world of Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
that would be a no-brainer. Have something following Melania.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really cool. I feel like that would have to be a given because like nobody quite knew that was like we knew it was going to be big. We didn't know it was going to become this cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the one I'd be lining up to get the rights for.
Yeah.
I
would love.
I don't know, just like a couple other ones that are kind of on my mind. Just real quick, The Witcher is on my mind. Cyberpunk is on my mind. Cyberpunk, I don't know. I actually don't know if they'd be able to do that since there's the anime. I don't know about if there's any rights issues there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thing about like God of War also is that like, oh, well, they're already making a series. They're making a series with Amazon though, so I feel that was a little bit easier to work out.
Yeah.
Fallout already has its own series on Amazon, which is phenomenal.
Gears would be cool.
Gears would be very cool because Blur made the cinematic that we just saw for E-Day with real assets from the Coalition. So I would be very intrigued if they would do a Gears one.
Yeah.
In fact, I would go so far as to say that might actually be a lock if they do a second season.
Yeah.
That Diablo is there for the taking. Yeah, Blur, man, Blur's a fucking awesome studio. If you've never watched any of Blur's work, you've watched Blur without knowing it.
Halo 2 Anniversary is probably the most famous one for our audience, probably at this point. Halo 2
yeah, so games that they have worked on, I'm not going to go all the way back in history, but they really came to prominence with Halo 2 Anniversary and with the Old Republic. Those were the two that they really came to, but they've been around since Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Other games they've worked on that you guys have definitely played, Halo Wars 2 and all three of the most recent Modern Warfare games, and Valorant. Valorant would probably be another one they would have in there, honestly. Yeah. They did the trailer for Exodus, which is that game we saw at the Game Awards, and that is one of the franchises in this first 15 episodes. So that also like screams to me that like, hey, if they've made something for your franchise, there's probably a pretty decent chance it's included. They did stuff for Dark Souls too. So, and then when you go into stuff that they've done for film and television, they did visual effects for Girl with Dragon Tattoo, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and all three Sonic the Hedgehog movies, as well as the Knuckles series. So, pretty cool. I do feel like a lot of those are like the title sequences, though, title or credit sequences.
Yeah.
For movies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know what we didn't mention would be super cool would be Titanfall.
Oh my. Oh, Titanfall, man. I would love just anything in that universe. Titanfall. I'll take Titanfall. I'll take Apex. I'll take any of it. I want to see them play with that universe.
Yeah. I'm just going through my list here. My library.
I think I'm pretty much out of ideas at this point. But yeah, Love, Death, and Robots had its most recent season back in 2022. It looks like these take a couple years to develop usually. So I'm interested to see if this series had to go on hold for them to make Secret Level or not. Because it was greenlit for a fourth season and it just hasn't come out yet. My guess is they've shifted into doing this.
Yeah.
So,
Prey would be cool. Remnant would be cool.
I think like any of the any property that Arcane has worked on would be. You mentioned Deathloop earlier. I think Dishonored would be really dope. But yeah, if you're gonna do like 12 to 15 minute episodes, just standalones, I think they're great for expanding these worlds without making it feel like it's essential viewing.
Right.
And that's what we've always said. Like that would be a great way to grow Destiny. Like to bring this all back to Destiny, that would be a really great way to grow this. Is I would like to see that. I think the idea of getting a full-on show just based on one property from them is going to be next to impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel like they're trying to transition more into television work as opposed to just game cutscenes. Like that may be how they, made their household name, but
yeah. Lost Planet.
Lost Planet. I do love Lost Planet. I have a very, very soft spot for Lost Planet.
Remember when Lost Planet 2 had the Gears characters in it, and then it ended up just being like a not great.
I do remember, unfortunately. Do you remember when they put the Terminator in Gears 5?
I do. And Sarah Connor.
Yeah, I was reminded of that the other day.
And the Halo Reach characters.
I do remember the Halo Reach ones.
Oh, what a weird game Gears 5 is. Man, I still can't believe
what a weird thing. But all that aside, Gamescom opening night was really weird. It didn't have a whole lot of highlights outside of what we talked about. Peter Molyneux came on stage, and he's almost certainly going to get sued, which is incredible. We can't believe Jeff Keighley actually let this guy on stage.
Well, here's the thing. I was reading about that because there was a rumor that there was a game that was set in Albion coming to one of the shows this fall. Albion is like the generic fantasy world of England. It's just like it's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
It's just very weird that you would choose to say that, publicly admit you haven't checked with lawyers to make sure it's actually okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
And for Jeff Keighley to just be like, fuck it, we ball.
Yeah. It's not Jeff Keighley's fault, to be fair.
It's not, but at this point, that man should know better than most not to put Molyneux on stage. I fail to see what everybody thought was so incredible about Masters of Albion or whatever it's called. Maybe it's because of my age, but I don't get it. People much older than me, people in their 40s are like, this looks incredible. I'm like, are we looking at the same game?
I didn't. I mean, it looks like a game. I don't know.
It looks like something I would have played in 2004.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like groundbreaking or anything. It's not like E-Day, right? Gears E-Day, which was super amazing looking, but I don't know.
Yeah, that and others. I thought it was very weird that we had to get the Genshin Impact commercial in there, but this time it was promoted as coming to Xbox. So
yeah,
that was a little weird too. It was just like,
I turned on my Xbox. I got an ad for it.
Did you really?
Yeah. It said Genshin Impact's coming to Xbox. Preload it now.
I mean, it is one of the biggest games in the world.
I get it, but it just...
I also think it's weird. I understand.
Just the fact that, I got an ad when I turned my Xbox on was weird.
Yeah, they got to stop doing that. But, Corey... Let's say we talk about some Destiny.
Yeah, we should probably do that, huh?
The reason everybody's actually here, we had a pretty quiet week, I think. Definitely some stuff in the TWAB though that's worth going over and worth talking about. That I'm a fan of, at least. In here, there is a quick rundown of the story so far of Echoes, in case you're confused. Like some people are.
Who's confused?
It lays out explicitly what is going on here. I think they need to do this with the episodes, frankly. Give you a little summary the week before the next act starts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but I don't. If you've been playing, I don't know how you're confused.
So specifically, I think it's interesting that they specifically say, hey, by the way, this is Maya Sundaresh. We're not actually pulling your leg here. This really is Maya. But I don't know. There are people who play these games, skip the cutscenes, and then say they don't know what's going on. That is a more common complaint than I would like to believe.
Yeah, you're right.
So, just today, I saw somebody trying to argue on socials, the story in Destiny, lore doesn't count as story.
What are you talking about?
You just spent like this person just spent the better part of a year probably jacking off about Elden Ring and its DLC and like, buddy, listen, if it's good enough for a From game, it's good enough for a Bungie. You just don't like it because it's called Destiny. That's your whole problem. That's your whole issue here.
Some people,
like,
man.
I'm dead ass. Like
I know.
If you haven't been if you skip the cutscenes, yeah, you're gonna be confused about what the story is. Like the story's been there. Yes, the radio messages do count as story, by the way. Even if you're like, ugh, these are boring as fuck. Like, well, guess what? Go play something else. The 1 million monthly active users think that this is great for the most part.
Oh my god.
I say all that to say. Also, this person definitely was trying to argue that Halo has like better lore currently, and I just had to laugh. Like, buddy, we've had this soft reboot the franchise twice in a decade. Okay. I love Halo. It's one of my favorite franchises ever. Okay.
Within 2 games, they've soft rebooted it.
I mean, honestly, if you want to get really specific, 4, 5, and Infinite all soft rebooted.
Yeah.
If you want to get really picky about it, which I do. Anyways, I say all that to say, they included the cinematics here also, which I really like. All 3 of them are here. I like that a lot. And moving into next week. So Solstice is ending this week. If you're listening to this, I hope you've already done your Solstice stuff. It is a fucking grind.
Yeah.
I got my incandescent armor finished this week, and I agree with who was it? Who was saying it in our Discord? I want to say it was Nox was saying that it is just a fucking slog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was Nox saying just like how awful this grind is, and I had to agree. It was terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it was not fun.
It's not fun
after a while. I'm like, I think the armor looks cool this time around, but like I'm not interested in doing this. I got other stuff to do, you know?
Yeah, no, it's my time is much more valuable. I was not about to kill myself doing this. So forget that. If you don't have the god rolls, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm getting like 9 drops every time that I finish a bonfire bash at this point. I think I said last week I had god rolls on my first day, and I really was just trying to grind the armor after that.
Yeah.
If you care about gilding your title, you've got a little bit longer to do it. I'm one of those like, hey, I got it once. I don't feel the need to gild this ever.
Yeah.
So you got that. Coming next week on Tuesday, though, we have Act 3, Corey.
Act 3.
We have Act 3 of Echoes starting on Tuesday. I'm actually really excited for this. I want to see where this story goes. We got 3 weeks left for the story to like really jump out and impress me. Like I said a couple weeks ago, I think that when we got the last week of the story, I think it was all the way back on July 30th when we got it.
Oh, God, was it that long ago?
Yeah, it was that long ago. July 30th when we got the Maya Sundaresh cutscene.
Yeah,
I thought that was easily the strongest week of the story for me so far.
Yeah, of course it was. But like, I think it happened too. I feel like it should have happened at the end of the first act.
Right, which, you know, we're not going to rehash and retread old ground. We've both said it a million times. But it did get me excited for what's coming in Act 3. Starting on the 27th. It means the finale of this episode is going to launch on Tuesday, September 10th, which is the 10-year anniversary of the franchise. So I'm hoping for a big ending. Really, really hoping to go all out here. I need them. They got to impress in these last 3 weeks. But of course, we're getting 5 more artifact perks, which I've already griped about how we need to have at least 1 more artifact slot if you're going to do this. Mm-hmm. You got to give us another one with Act 2 and maybe one with Act 3. Mm-hmm. These ones I feel are, well, I don't know if they're toned down. Toned down might be the wrong usage, but column 1, you're going to get Overload Auto Rifle. Number 2, you're going to get authorized mods for Charged Up, which means your energy cost is discounted. Column 3, this is where it gets interesting to me. Continuously damaging opponents with an auto rifle grants you damage resistance. Number 4, targeting auto reloader. I think this is a really cool idea for um, a weapon mod, and I think giving it to you in the last couple weeks of the season means that they know that this exotic is going to be fucking busted.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an auto rifle equipped, defeating combatants reloads your equipped weapon and temporarily increases weapon damage. Awards bonus progress when dealing final blows while surrounded.
Yeah.
I think that sounds really cool. For something with a giant mag like a Rufus's Fury, that sounds ridiculous to me. And then column 5, shock and awe. When you have an arc or prismatic subclass equipped, arc final blows while you are amplified, summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. So now imagine you have prismatic equipped, you have an arc auto rifle, and you have both this, you have this sustained fire and auto reloader on. That could lead to some absolutely batshit crazy combos.
Yeah.
I think this sounds really cool. This is the kind of broken shit I want to be thinking about with only 6 weeks to go in a season. It's like, oh, well, either I'm going to go all out and have just a ton of fun with it, or it didn't really click for me, and, I can just kind of put it on the back burner and come back in a few weeks. That's the one advantage that episodes are offering me with the artifacts so far. And I think that allows them to put in broken combinations.
Yeah.
And this is very similar to how we were talking about with all the solar and incandescent damage that we got in Act 2. This is very similar to me. And of course, we have some wonderful new weapons coming. I'm excited for all 3 of these. Spellologist is the new LMG coming. It is a solar rapid fire, so 900 RPM LMG that is similar to Song of Ur-Ute if you are keeping track at home. Jesus Christ, the perks on this one. So in the 3rd column, right off the bat, we've got Heal Clip, you've got Enlightened Action, you've got Stats for All, Deconstruct, Firmly Planted, Slideways, and Envious Assassin. In the 4th column, you've got Strategist, Adagio, One for All, Target Lock, Surrounded, Incandescent, Killing Tally. Holy God. I immediately Heal Clip, Envious Assassin, and Stats for All are jumping out to me in that 1st column. And in the 2nd column, I've got One for All, Target Lock, Incandescent, Killing Tally. God, there's so many good combos you can do with this LMG, I feel. We don't have a whole lot of solar LMGs like it's noted here in the Schwab. The only one I can actually, I'm sure there's more. The only one that really comes to mind for me is Fixed Odds from the Duality Dungeon, the old season of Menagerie. It's not Menagerie, but Season of the Menagerie is what I'm calling it. From that season, that's the only solar one that really jumps out in my mind. So this is cool. It of course looks awesome. This whole weapon suite has looked so good.
Mm-hmm.
I really hats off to the design team. I hope that they keep them looking awesome going forward. And then, guys, you know how much I love my trace rifles. Chronophage is coming. It's a void adaptive. Is it I think it's void adaptive. In that 1st column, you've got Strategist, you've got Elemental Capacitor, Shoot to Loot, Pugilist, Auto-Loading Holster, Feeding Frenzy, Repulsor. And in that 4th column, you've got One for All, you've got High Ground, Fragile Focus, Target Lock, Demolitionist, Desperate Measures, and Destabilizing. Of course, everybody really likes the combination of Repulsor and Destabilizing. I run that a lot less since I typically have Avoid Super or Avoid Grenade on of some kind, especially if I'm running Prismatic. So for me, I actually really like I like that Shoot to Loot is on this personally. I know that's not like the sexy perk, but in a higher end content, I really like having that there. I like Feeding Frenzy. I do still like Repulsor and Destabilizing. But I think Target Lock is one that should not be slept on. Target Lock is great on any of these types of weapons. I like One for All. If you're ad clearing, I like the idea of One for All with Repulsor. Desperate Measures is a good one. But I don't know. For me, I'm probably thinking I'm gonna play around with shoot to loot target lock or shoot to loot one for all, because I'm trying to think of like scenarios I'm using this in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I like those. I like those a lot. I need to see what the batteries are going to look like on that too. And then an old favorite, Marty's is back. Martyr's Retribution, the final season of Dawn Weapon, the beloved breech-loaded grenade launcher. I know our friends Bruce and Oak are really excited for this one to be coming back. Oak in particular has been waiting for this since we knew it was coming back with the final shape. Third column, you're going to get field prep, you're going to get demolitionist, you're going to get threat detector, heel clip, auto loading, envious, and that fourth column, you're going to get kill clip, strategist, adrenaline junkie, desperate measures, incandescent, and vorpal. This is a wave frame grenade launcher. I really love incandescent auto loading. It's hard to go wrong with auto loading on a breech loader. But I really love in that first column, I love that heel clip is going to be on this. I think heel clip incandescent is going to be very strong. I think envious incandescent can be. Obviously kill clip is a tired and true one. Same with vorpal, but I really like the idea of heel clip, auto loading, or envious in that first slot, and then I really love incandescent in that second slot regardless.
Yeah.
Anything that jumps out from these three to you, Corey?
I mean, nothing that you haven't already mentioned. The fact that, Josh, I do think they should bring Menagerie back, though. I hear it's great.
I have opinions.
I know, that's why I said it.
I also correction on the Solstice Stormer, it was not Nox. It was Dio who said it in our Discord. I was confused. It was in the middle of a bunch of conversations. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm not doing those on multiple characters. These weapons, I can't wait to craft them. Again, I think every single one of the craftable weapons this season is a must craft.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think they're all outstanding.
Yeah. I haven't really found anything I haven't liked yet, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been waiting to chase rolls on Perfect Paradox until Marty's came into the game. Now I'll go run the whatever it's called, activity in the Vex network again. I always get the two things mixed up in name.
Yeah.
But I'll go run that again to get some double perks going on these. But this is one of those situations that once I get what I want, I'm out of there. Gone. Yeah, I'm gone. But I am very excited. I think this LMG is going to be cool. I think the Trace Rifle is going to be really cool. And Marty's just might be king of the wave frames again. I know wave frames aren't as good as they used to be, but they're still really, really strong. And this might be one that people want to run a lot. Other things that were announced this week through Twitter, and they have them here as a quick little recap. Exotic class item attunement is coming soon at the beginning of episode 2. Well, we don't know if it's going to be at the beginning, but it will be coming during episode 2 Revenant. They showed us an in progress screenshot of a tuning for these exotic class items. This is interesting. You should also know that this is not going to cost you silver or bright dust to do. I do suspect this will cost you exotic ciphers, legendary or golf balls, prisms, things like that. I do feel like there's going to be some limitations on this, but I did like this. I thought this was really cool. You'll be able to attune to one perk out of both columns. So only one through both columns to give you a chance at least saying, hey, I'm going to get this perk almost guaranteed when I do these. So I thought that was really cool. I was very happy to see it, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there need to be some more routes for this. Not that I don't think that like Dual Destiny is a horrible mission to do, but man, sometimes it can just be a little grating on you.
Yeah.
I think I I understand that this is an MMO style game. Grinding is inherently part of it. There's nothing fun about running dual destiny or running overthrows for, several runs in a row and getting the same drop
Mhm.
over and over. There is nothing that feels good about that to me.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with this. They needed to have solutions to get it outside of that activity. Of course, you still have to complete Dual Destiny at least once in order to use this. Um, and keep in mind, those are still the two sources that they drop from are Dual Destiny and from you have a potential for any chest in the Pale Heart to drop them. Um, them jacking up the rates for overthrows is a good first step. And I do feel like we're deep enough into the final shape. We're coming up on 3 months of it that it's time.
Mhm.
It's time. I'm not saying like open up the floodgates or anything, but there should be other ways to get them. We've spitballed that maybe you should be able to get them for spending some of your Nightfall ciphers or something from your GMs. Maybe you can buy one per week from there. We know Zer's going to sell them periodically, and they're going to cost you an arm and a leg. He's going to take you for all you're worth, but though like these are realistic steps without flooding the market.
Right.
I actually would really love if there was a way for me to attune at Ghost to if I'm going to get an Ergo Sum or a exotic class item out of my first couple Pathfinders of the week or out of my overthrow chests. I would really love for that to happen because let me tell you something. I got every Ergo Sum roll I could ever dream of in the first 3 days,
Mhm.
and I'm really fucking tired of seeing it now. But I really could go for class times. And I think especially if you're trying to get them from multiple characters, like if these are easier to obtain, I think I'd be more willing to want to try to play on other characters. I did say Prismatic is what was going to finally get me playing a Warlock or a Titan, and instead I'm exhausted.
Mhm.
I'm exhausted when I think about Destiny, and like it's not like, oh my god, I fucking hate this game. Like I'm just tired. Like
Yeah.
that's gonna happen when you've played a game for 10 years. Like it's gonna happen. You're gonna hit that burnout phase. I hit mine a couple years ago and it's like, oh, I get these great spurts, during seasons while the narrative is going. Oh yeah, I kind of taper off. And I usually take like the back half of a season off. With episodes, I actually find myself staying more engaged than I was before because there's something happening every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might play for those three weeks of story, and then I might take another week to finish stuff up, or hey, there's going to be something like Solstice or Festival of the Lost during a couple of these weeks. Oh, we had Iron Banner during one of those. I'm gonna play Iron Banner. Like I find myself actually taking a little bit less time off now, because I want to get my weapons crafted. I want to do stuff. There's not a lot of end game right now. Like I'm waiting for a dungeon drop. I'm very excited for this new exotic quest. They said they've set it out to be the biggest exotic mission they've ever done. I'm very excited. That we assume is dropping on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm really, really stoked for that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Again, can't wait. Um, and it's stuff like that that's going to keep me engaged.
Mhm.
I talked about the loop of Act One, and yeah, it was because I was still doing like Final Shape stuff, but I was really engaged during that. So like when I kind of tapered off these last couple weeks, part of it's because I did not like the Solstice grind, but it was like, man, I've kind of played like 9-10 weeks nonstop. I took 1 week off, and that was like the last week of the double Iron Banner week that we had,
Mhm.
and that was it. Like I pretty much played. I was playing every week. I was playing almost every night. I was ready for a break, and that was great because there wasn't a whole lot this summer for me to play. I don't think for any of us to play if you're not an Elden Ring fan, there wasn't a lot for the rest of us to play.
Yeah.
So it was kind of lined up perfectly, but now we're getting into the busy fall season, which sucks because it's an episode and a theme I'm so excited for, and they're making these quality of life changes that I'm excited for, and I'm like, damn, I've got like a dozen games I want to play this fall,
Mhm.
and that's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
That's a great problem to have because I know that no matter the games I have, I'm still going to come back and play Destiny.
Yeah.
I know I'm still going to I'm tuning in for the story. I'm turning in for the loot. I'm tuning in for a dungeon, for exotic missions, for things like that. Like, my days of chasing seasonal titles might be over.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
think
I'm excited to see what the 10th anniversary stuff is.
yeah, I mean,
beyond what's already leaked.
yeah. I mean, Destiny is in a place where we set out to bust our asses until the final shape came out and was over, and I think a lot of players did that, and now they're kind of where you just said you're at. Like, like maybe I'm not going to chase these titles anymore. Maybe I'll check in once or twice a week to do the story content for a while, or if there's like a big thing, like like the anniversary event or something, we'll do that. But like grinding the Solstice stuff, maybe not next year. uh so
Yeah, and I think that's fine.
yeah.
Like I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I know some people have attributed to the way that we talked about Destiny lately of being like, oh, you guys are just so negative. Like, no, we're negative about Bungie. We're negative about Bungie, and like, yeah, there are some things like Solstice isn't great. Like, we've known that for a while. Like, I would say the holiday events are usually a pretty weak part of Destiny.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They're there if you want to play them. They are meant to get you to, oh, hey, here's something a little bit different from the usual grind. Like, that's just MMOs. Like, MMOs are like that, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Like it is, we've always said, like, it's cool to be able to, it's cool, to step away. And like, I know plenty of people, this is their main game. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely, if you're going to be like our friend Ronnie, who wants to play until the servers are shut off, man, I salute you. I probably will be there with you to some degree.
Yeah. I mean,
because there is nothing that feels like Destiny.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always going to play Destiny, right? I mean,
right.
But it's the hardcore playing of it is like, maybe looking like that light is at the end of the tunnel at some point.
Yep.
But
we're again,
like,
we all kind of move on. That's kind of been like a big topic for a lot of folks, coming out of, all the layoffs at Bungie and stuff, was like, man, the final shape is feeling more and more like it's that getting off point for a lot of people. And like, for me, I'm not there just yet. I thought I was going to be, and then Into the Light and the final shape were so good that I'm like, yeah, I'm still here. Like, I'm going to at least play the content I've paid for up through next summer. I'm really interested to see if we see more about Frontiers in the next week or two. Because guess what? I'm going to fall right back into the same hype cycle. You're going to see me freaking out again because, I was talking about this with A1 Johnny last night. Like, man, if you do what a lot of us are speculating you're going to do, and, we board, the party barge with Drifter and Eris and all our favorite friends and, explore the solar system. Let's go. I'm here for that. Like, that's the way I want to see this universe grow. Just like, as I get older and I have less free time on my hands and whatnot, and there's more games I want to engage with, there's more things I want to do just in life, like me logging in and playing 15 20 hours of Destiny a week just isn't going to happen. So, like, even this season, I'm already like, shit, I've got, I've got a whole Marvel season in Fortnite that's competing for my attention right now, because that's been awesome.
Yeah.
And that's something I know is only going to be here for like 2 months and then it's going away.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I want to play that. I'm having fun. I haven't had fun with Fortnite like all year. And now all of a sudden they're doing this. Like, hell yeah, I'm in. Like, I haven't really liked Fortnite since like this time last year. Is when I was last playing it heavy, and that was because, oh, well, seasons weren't really in a great place last year at this time. So yeah, I was playing a lot last fall.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, yeah, I'm back. Like, Destiny's great. No, Fortnite's good too. Like,
yeah,
this is the problem I had during Witch Queen, basically. So it's kind of, how do you want to spend your time? And like, if you're like us, you like playing a lot of single player games too. So like, just in the next 3 months alone, I'm looking at my calendar, and I've got to figure out how to squeeze in seasons for both of these ongoing games I like. I've got Black Ops 6 coming, which I'm going to play a ton of. I'm very into zombies, and the campaign looks cool from what we saw at Gamescom. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is coming. Mario and Luigi Brothership is coming. Astrobot. I do want to check out Concord at some point, despite the reviews. I want to check out Black Myth Wukong. I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws starting on Monday.
Yeah.
Metaphor comes out in October. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. And of course, the game we keep talking about, Indiana fucking Jones. Which, like, people are like, why is it releasing in December? I'm like, thank God it's releasing in December. Like, thank God. Nothing else is coming out around it. I'm good.
Right.
Stalker 2 is coming out. I've been waiting on that one for years and years at this point. Like, and that's just like big name games. That's not even talking about like indies that we're gonna want to play. So
right.
I'm okay with all this. If it means like I'm stepping away, like the more I think about it, the more I'm happy that the narrative for each act in Episode 2 is going to be presented up front. You can play it all that first week. Great. I'm going to kill myself that first week. Play it all. That way, if stuff comes out, I can enjoy other games and I can pop in once or twice a week to still play this, play with my friends, craft weapons, do some Iron Banner, do Crucible, do some, do some Grandmasters, do the dungeon, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with dipping in and out. Like, they have made it easier and easier to be able to do that.
Yep.
And at the same time, they're like, well, we don't want you to go too far, so we're going to have something almost every week for you that's, hey, remember this thing you love in Destiny? We're not going to stack up story and Iron Banner at the same time anymore. Well, Iron Banner kind of be its own thing and be its own event. Great. You want to do seasonal events? Great. There's going to be 2 of them in Act 2. I love it. You know, I'm here to earn my wizard armor for Festival of the Lost. I'm telling you. Well, buy my wizard armor, I should say. There is no earning. But I say all that to say, I really like a lot of the changes that they're making. I think a lot of the things they've done, a lot of QOL has really been for the best. There's one more QOL thing we have to talk about. I don't think it affects too many people who listen to this show. This is, of course, the Tower casuals, not the Tower hardcore players. AFK macros have been banned in the game. I have seen a lot of people get upset about this. Mainly people who make a lot of GM content or high-end content are upset about this because they don't want to have to actually grind the levels like everybody else. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. It's an MMO. Go grind.
Yeah.
But specifically, the TLDR that they gave out, we love you to play our game rather than having an automated macro earning rewards for you while you sleep. We understand some reward paths in our game can feel rough, but we'd rather take on the feedback and address problems than a player's attempt to circumvent issues with tools meant for accessibility. There are specific instances. So they're talking about things like the Pale Heart macro to open up those chests. Mm-hmm. They did say they will not retroactively ban anybody who did that, but that you will get a warning going forward. And after a warning, yeah, you're going to get a ban. So that's part of why you're seeing the change that we just talked about with you're going to be able to attune to a perk. You're going to be able to buy these from Xur, and there's going to be other reward paths at some point. I would not be shocked to see these added to like dungeon and raid rewards, opening up the secret chests in those has a chance to grant you one or something. I would not be shocked at all to see those paths happen, but it is what it is. One can't help but feel that it's kind of like with when they had to nerf the Thrall way. Way back when. This is kind of similar to that. People just infinitely grinding levels. Like, if you ever seen something and you're like, Jesus, how are you like level 600? Like, well, that's how. Yeah, that's how. They're AFK farming while they're asleep, and I just think that that's incredibly silly. I get it if you make content and whatnot. I get why that is appealing to you, but also if you're making content like that, you're also probably making like decent enough money off of this that you can afford to grind that out a little bit,
right?
While you're making said content. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading this because I don't make that specific kind of content. I commentate instead of actually like making gameplay videos, but that would kind of be my take on this. My philosophy is always if you think you could get banned for it, just don't do it. That's my take on anything. If you think something is potentially illegal, probably don't want. If you think you could be held legally liable, or in this case, if you could lose your game account, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. I would rather play it safe than lose thousands of hours.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, because I'm telling you right now, if my account ever got banned, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not making another character. I'm walking away forever. I will watch Bife videos. I'm done. Like, I legitimately cannot emphasize to you how much I would be done playing this game because I have so many thousands of hours put into this franchise that if my account ever got banned, even falsely, I would just walk away. I would walk away and be done.
Yeah.
So, because that would be devastating on a level that I'm not ready to comprehend.
Yeah, I think about that often, to be honest with you. It's I don't want my accounts banned on any game.
No.
So
no, it's why I'm hesitant to set up and obviously I'm on console. It's a lot different, but I'm always hesitant when I hear like PC friends be like, "Yeah, I set up a macro for this," and I'm like, "Man, listen, people have gotten banned for having AFK farming going on in the background for other games with like other like cheats installed for other games. I am not touching this with a 10-foot fucking pole.
Right.
Like I'm debating about building my first PC right now. I'm starting to like look at build your own and like do a build like through Micro Center and stuff. You can go there and they'll actually like build it with you and show you how to do it. If I do that, like I'll tell you right now, I'm never touching Destiny on my PC because I want to install mods for things like Baldur's Gate and games like that. Like, nope, I will continue only playing on console because I'm that paranoid.
Yep.
I am that fucking paranoid. Cheats for Rome Total War were getting people banned. Like, I'm not going through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call me overdramatic or overreactive, all you want. I will gladly say that I am in the name of keeping my account unbanned, I guess.
Oh my gosh. They need to fix that. I'm sorry. They need to figure that out. I don't, there's got to be a way to detect that, right? I mean,
there's gotta be a way. We've said for forever that, maybe not specifically, but the community has said that you've got to figure something out.
Yeah. Man.
And it just they don't seem to want to do that, unfortunately. So,
right.
What are you supposed to do?
Right.
There was something else I was going to pull up, and I don't know where it is now.
Yeah.
There it is. It's not part of the thing anymore. Nope. I think that's about all I had for TWAB this week. We do have one other question before we get to Lore Corner and some housekeeping at the end. Corey, do you have anything else before we go to our last question?
Nope. Let's get into the question, Josh.
Okay, Corey is tired. This is like his 15th show in a week.
Yeah. So behind the scenes, like I'm going to PAX next week, so Josh will have.
I haven't gotten a guest confirmed yet.
Yeah, he will have a guest.
TBD.
I'm going to PAX next week, and therefore we are doubling and tripling up shows on my other stuff. So this is since Josh and I recorded. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Josh! Since we recorded Xbox Casuals, nope, I lied. This is like my 16th show in 10 days or something. So I apologize if I feel a little groggy. But look, Josh. By the way, Josh, our Jeff Gardner interview, doing great. Great numbers.
Well, so I was gonna say talking about Jeff Gardner for our housekeeping, but no, let's do it now.
Okay,
let's do it now. We had a great sit down. We talked about it a little bit last week, but it is actually posted as of Monday morning.
Yes.
Had a great sit down with Jeff Gardner, the CEO and director of Something Wicked Games, who is working on his first original game, Weird Song. We should be having a trailer coming up in the next couple of months, he said. But if you don't know who Jeff is probably responsible for some of your favorite games ever made.
Mm-hmm.
He worked on the Oblivion DLCs over at Bethesda, specifically on Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles, and then was pretty key on Fallout 3. He was part of the what terminology did they use for the Skyrim team, like the Council of War or something.
Yeah.
During crunch to decide what got to stay and what didn't get to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And then was one of the leads on Fallout 4, and then became the project lead for 76, which I know the mere mention of 76 is going to get some of y'all upset. But he did not back away from basically saying we fucked up.
Yeah. He didn't back away from anything, dude.
No, he didn't. He, without us even really having to bring it up, he addressed some of the struggles that Something Wicked has gone through. the challenges of making a live service game and trying to break through like that Fortnite, Roblox, Call of Duty barricade, essentially.
Yeah.
What's different in developing a single player game versus live service? What's different about playing in somebody else's world versus creating your own? Inspirations that, you know, we had some of our favorite, like what games are in our gaming DNA. There was an article written about our interview, as a matter of fact, that Corey sent me earlier this week.
Yeah, on
from Games Radar about one of the things Jeff fought for in Skyrim, and that was the weight of the dragon bones.
Yeah,
arguing that they're dragon bones, they're supposed to be heavy, and also that he fought to make it to where companions did not take damage, and his logic was turned on its head. So
yeah.
He lost that fight. That's why Lydia dies when you load her up with 400 pounds of shit and she falls down a shaft.
Well, you know, someone's gotta.
There's mods for that though, Corey.
Yeah. Well, you know, don't. If you're gonna download those mods, don't play Destiny.
Corey, myself, and our friend Laron had a great time talking with Jeff. God, between the pre-show and the regular show, we must have spent about 3 hours with this guy.
The final edit was about 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, he was great. Some of y'all wrote in questions. Fox, I know, specifically gave us some great ones.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hell of a time. No, Jeff is one of the nicest people I've ever had the pleasure of talking to in this industry.
Yeah.
Not just because he's made some of my favorite games of all time.
He's not just nice, like he's honest and real about it all, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like not something you hear a lot in the industry. You know, I mean, it's always like the PR speak or the, you're so media trained that you just give the generic answer, and he didn't do any of that.
No, I laughed really hard when he said, my PR agent might kill me for talking about this publicly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, great interview, great time sitting down with him. A lot of fun. We would love if you guys went and checked that out. It's over on the Boss Rush podcast feed or on YouTube, however you choose to listen to your podcasts.
I did post it in the podcast episode channel in our Discord.
In the Discord.
And it's also been retweeted by the Tower Casuals Twitter account if you follow that. So you can go check that out.
Yeah, it was a hell of a time. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on for that.
Hey man, you know that I think you are one of the best interviewers out there, and the best kind of, you know how to ask the right questions. You know what I mean? So like,
I've seen enough people do them badly that I hope I do it adequately. That's my goal.
Yeah, and
thank you for the kind words.
I've got a couple, quite a few coals in the fire now, but Josh is going to join me on a few of those as well.
Yeah, we're kind of hoping this is like the launching pad for some other stuff that we've been wanting to do for quite a while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to this question. Let's do some lore corner, and then we'll wrap up with a little housekeeping.
Cool.
Jiggly Panda writes that we already did our we already did the other question from Tiger Jesus. Top of the show. Jiggly Panda writes in with two questions as always. I'm going up to Green Bay this weekend for a game, so I'll ask you all this: have you guys ever been to a professional sports game? And if so, is it better in person or on TV?
Josh, you were just somewhere a couple days ago.
I was at the Rangers game, and I was like in the 10th row back along the third baseline. It was great. I posted a picture of it in the questions thread for this week. It was great. The Rangers suck this year, but it's okay. We won a World Series. I got to see a World Series in my lifetime from the Rangers, who have only had, well, the amount of winning seasons we've had is less than the amount of fingers that I have. I'll put it that way. So it was very nice to get to see them. They pulled it out with 2 outs. They pulled it out in the 9th. They scored 1 run. It was a 0-0 game the whole way.
Nice.
God, it's such a disaster. It is a beautiful stadium inside. It's my first time getting to be to the new stadium. My first baseball game, actually, in maybe a decade. Baseball stadiums are really hard. My ankles are surgically repaired. They're very hard for me to go down those stairs, especially if I'm trying to hold something. So I don't go to baseball games a lot, but we got free tickets, so my partner and I went, and it was great. We had tickets for the 300 section, and my aunt knew somebody working there, and she moved us all the way down there. So
Ooh, nice.
it was very cool. I have gotten to be at a number of sporting events, and I got to say, it depends on the sport if it's better in person or at home. I always like watching them at home because one, I can get up and get a beverage, and it's free.
Hmm.
I don't have to pay $15 for a beer in my apartment. But being there in person, it's always a cool atmosphere. Like, especially if the crowd is really into it. Like, um, I would say there's nothing like going to an NFL game for me. I've been very lucky to get to see the Seahawks a couple of times when they've played the Cowboys. And whether it's preseason or regular season, just the crowd is into it. That's always fun. But if I had to pick one sport that I would want to see in person, it's probably, for me, it's basketball. Seeing basketball live is awesome. It's even better. Again, it's better when you have the good seats. But yeah, I really like it. I like it. The crowd energy is a lot of fun, but it just kind of depends. Like, I don't know if it's worth the money is my whole thing. I don't know if it's worth like the cost of admission, the cost of concessions there, because it's not like a movie. I can go to a movie and I'm not going to get a snack and a drink. I'm totally fine. If I'm at a game though, I want to get a beer. If I'm at a baseball game, I'm not going to a baseball game without getting a hot dog and a beer.
Right.
Like, yesterday was dollar hot dog day. I've been on a diet for the last month. You best believe I broke that diet yesterday. I had $2 hot dogs, I had some popcorn, and I had a beer. I had a big beer. And it was great.
Oh,
and I kicked myself all night because I felt like shit.
Good shit, though.
It was worth it. There's nothing like a ballpark hot dog for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, they just taste better there for whatever reason.
It's because
they taste better there.
It's because they're boiled for like 6 hours and they sit in those silver bags, those lead lined bags, and then they get all soggy.
What? I'm gonna die an early death, and I'm okay with it. I'm gonna go out deliciously. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more fun the better your team is. Like, if you root for a team that's shitty, it's not fun. I've watched my fair share of terrible Mavs seasons. The Rangers have been dog shit my entire life except for like 3 years. And you know what? It's more fun when your team is good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Corey, have you been to any live sporting events?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to a Browns fan here, man.
I'm talking to a Browns, Cavs, and Guardians fan.
Yeah. Well, the Progressive Field has been closed for a while because they were filming Superman there.
Is that the baseball stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they transformed all of Cleveland into Metropolis for like 2 weeks.
How do you feel about that new Browns stadium?
It's God, I don't know, man. It's gonna kill Cleveland, is what it's gonna do. But this whole thing is like they're playing hardball because they want Cleveland to pay for the stadium, and Cleveland's like, well, we'll pay for part of it, but it's, you should probably front some of the money. And then they release this huge, you should look this up, it's really stupid. Like, they're planning on building this entire complex in a little town south of Cleveland called Brook Park, and they made like this animation of this mega complex slash kind of shopping hub, restaurants, all these things in Brook Park, which, look, Brook Park needs it, but also it's going to kill Cleveland because the Cavs aren't exactly they're good, but Cavs are like, especially since LeBron left, like the Cavs are just like, nobody really cares. People care, but people don't care, right? They care more about a mediocre.
Which is funny because your team isn't bad.
I know, but they care more about a mediocre Guardians team than a good Cavs team. And they definitely care more about a bad Browns team than a good Cavs team.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's the same thing in Texas. I mean, the Cowboys haven't been good for they've been fine, but they haven't made it to a conference championship since I was still like shitting my pants.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you even do with that? It's been like almost 30 years, like
Yeah.
since they last made one.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. The Cowboys are still king. Like they're the only franchise worth like $10 billion. I think.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. That stadium is just, it's a nice stadium, but God, it is in the middle of fucking Arlington, Texas, which let me tell you something. If you watched the Rangers World Series parade last year, you got to see our scenic warehouses and parking lots
Mm-hmm.
around the stadiums.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and like the world's worst Six Flags is right next door.
Mm.
So I have gripes. I have gripes with this team. This town worships the Cowboys. It's like the Rangers just won a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
The Mavs have Luka and Kyrie,
Yeah.
and the Stars have made multiple deep playoff runs in recent years.
Yeah. That's how it
But
goes.
it's all about Jerry and the Cowboys,
Yeah.
which is disgusting. At the end, the NFL is still king in the United States, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That's how it's yep, that's how it's been here. The Browns are king.
One thing I
But
never got into was college football. I never got into it. I went and
yeah.
saw a couple games when I was in, and again, this is probably because my college had a dog shit football team when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
We were not good. I think the best we did when I was in college was like 7-9 maybe, and I think it was good enough for like one of the like no name bowls the week of New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just embarrassing. Like I have a buddy from college who like he has season tickets. He still goes to like every game. Like if they make a bowl game, he goes to. And I'm like, what are you doing? Our tuition money went to paying for a stadium for a dog shit football team that like wouldn't even beat a high school team.
Right.
Like let's be real. Like DFW area high schools could beat up on my college.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. Like our tuition money went to this nice stadium. And it's a beautiful stadium, don't get me wrong. But it's like, Jesus, this is unnecessary.
Yeah. I haven't.
Conversely, I went to a really good college football game once, and again, still didn't get super into it. And I was like, oh wow, maybe if I went to school here, I would care more.
Yeah, I don't really care about college either. I used to, but then like I don't know, when I went to college and then I played college football and I was like I don't really care about all this anymore. So
Yeah.
So Browns it is. But yes, I have been to sporting events. I've been to all three major Cleveland teams, and Cavs when LeBron was here. Fourth row behind the Cavs bench was awesome. That was probably the best I've ever sat. But other than that, I prefer to be at home, to be honest. I don't know. That part of my life is over, Josh. I'm too old to get excited to go somewhere.
I still like going to games, but for me, it's like the price. Like if I'm given tickets, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I get them like cheap. That's the one downside about like, damn, we just won the World Series and have a brand new baseball stadium. Rangers games are no longer like, I grew up going to games, I kid you not, buying tickets on StubHub for like $3 the day of.
Yeah.
And I'd be like sitting in the outfield in the 100s, like in the 100 level.
Mm.
It was great. I loved sitting out in left field. Like we go on like bobblehead or like dollar hot dog night, and sure enough, because nobody likes baking in Texas sun in 100-degree weather, we'd go there, and like once the sun went down behind the stadium, we had perfect seats.
Right.
But we'd pay like $3, $4, $5 to go.
Mm-hmm.
We'd spend more on the parking than we would on the actual game. Now it's like, oh my God, it's like to sit up in the 300s, that's like $20, $25. You got to pay for parking, which is $20 to park like a mile, no kidding, a mile and a half from the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a beer, you're paying probably $12.
Yeah.
You want anything to eat, you're paying at least $10, $12. So yeah, it adds up really quickly. And that's if you're just going by yourself. Like, God forbid, you're taking your partner or you're going, with kids or something else. Because, I mean, come on, we all know how kids they want to get the ice cream and the souvenir helmet. They want to get candy. They want popcorn. They're bored. They want to go, run the bases or whatever the fuck you do for kids at a baseball game or a football game or whatever. Like, I would like to sit on my couch in air conditioning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have an air-conditioned baseball stadium and football stadium, and I'd probably still stay. So I'd probably still rather stay home.
Yeah.
Normal people have been priced out of sports in Dallas, Texas. That's my soliloquy for the night. But we do have a lore corner that we're going to get to. It's a quick one. I wanted to get back to some of the Final Shape lore real quickly. Like, kind of figure out we're in a holding pattern for Maya Sundaresh right now to see what they drop on us over the next couple weeks. But this is the False Idols sword. I don't think we've read False Idols. I hope we haven't. If we have, I'm really sorry. I
don't think we have.
I have not slept a lot the last couple months, so my memory is a little fuzzy.
It's all that beer you drank at the stadium, Josh.
I drank one beer. It was more expensive than anything. I got 3 hot dogs, popcorn, and a soda for the price it cost me for one draft beer. And it was a fucking Corona. It wasn't even anything good.
Oh man,
I just didn't want Bud Piss Water Light. Like, Jesus. Otherwise it would have been cheaper. I wanted something that was Corona's like a step up. At least with Corona, you're family, okay? Anyways, False Idols reads, there is a single jade coin marked with the silhouette of a pyramid ship. Keep playing the game. The emissary of the Nine's voice haunts the drifter, a voice that once belonged to Orin. Standing on the bridge of the helm, he can't hear the ship's running noise or the chatter of the navigation frames. All he can hear is, the furrow in your brow reveals you. Eris comes to stand beside Drifter at the windows. Their muted reflections pale in comparison to the magenta light spilling from the triangular wound in the traveler's side. Yeah, I bet it does. Drifter grouses, rolling the coin on the back of his fingers. Why you hide yours, eh? He hides his worry behind a toothy smile. No. Eris reaches out and takes Drifter's hand. Calloused fingers brush against his knuckles. He tenses for a moment, then relaxes at the touch. She deftly plucks the coin away from his palm, regarding it with mild curiosity. He feels lighter without it. Cryptic non-answers are not a useful totem for you to carry into the future, she asserts, pocketing the coin. Drifter cocks an eyebrow. You got something better? Eris watches his expression in the reflection. Indeed. A ray of moonlight and nothing more. Who would have ever guessed that one of the best relationships that we would get out of this series would be between Drifter and Eris?
No one.
I mean, even like 2 years ago, would you have guessed that this would happen?
No.
Because like they've been slowly building to it since Arrivals.
Right.
But I feel like it really took off after the events of Lightfall is when I feel like we really started building on it. Specifically, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Seeing Drifter really, care about Eris.
Mm-hmm.
And, his concern for her as she was turning into, a hive god. We've gotten hints of it in the lore for years. But I think to have it kind of outright confirmed here that they're a thing, but they don't want to say that they're a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is like kind of cool. They pretend they're not around Zavala and Ikora,
mm-hmm.
but they definitely are.
Mm-hmm.
And you just know that these two are going to be at the center of whatever story gets told in Heresy.
Yeah,
it's going to be them and the 2 remaining hive gods. So I think that this is an interesting setup because for a long time I've asserted that when we leave the system, Drifter and Eris are going with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels more and more like that, especially with what they've told us about Heresy. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna get Hive Captain's armor in it. You're raiding the Dreadnought and this and that. I really do wonder if like Eris ends up taking control of the Dreadnought and that's the ship we use to leave the solar system for Frontiers. For a while I was like, oh, it's gonna be the Helm. We're gonna take the Helm, or we're gonna take the Hull, or whatever. Like, I'd like to know more about. We know some about Orin. I really hope one of the things they start diving into is the Nine, though. Like, because they're like, Drifter is still haunted by the voice telling him to keep playing the game being Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
And well, darkness has been defeated, and the whole purpose of Gambit was to get us ready to fight it. was to fight what was coming, to fight the witness, essentially. And so if there's not a canonical reason for Gambit to exist anymore, like, what is the purpose of the game? And I'd like for one of these seasons, maybe next year, to delve into that. Like, delve into the mysteries of the Nine a little bit more as we start to explore the frontier. I'd like for this to be one of the jumping off points. There's another piece that I want to eventually read. Maybe we'll do it next week. Where Mara ponders going back to this, she remembers the distributary and the creation of the Awoken and things like that. Because for them, like, thousands of years passed them like the blink of an eye. And I'd kind of like to dive into that a little bit more, because I feel like that's another, like, when we talk about the great unsolved mysteries, the Nine and the distributary are two that immediately come to mind for me. And you got to figure that Reese gets tied into that. The Tora bottle, was Tora bottle actually turned into a war moon? It's just been insinuated, but like at the very least, it's been bombarded to all hell. So
yeah,
you have to wonder aloud, if things like that are going to be explained or dived into. Because I mean, the whole explanation we got for the Red War was, well, it happened because the Nine led it, essentially.
Yeah,
and we kind of haven't heard about him since Season of the Drifter. It's kind of the last time that we had anything related to the Nine addressed. Like, why the fuck is Zur?
Right.
Like, I'd love to dive into that at some point if we're talking about unsolved mysteries. We're talking about future, things that could be talked about in seasons, or in major content. Like, I feel like, when we get pieces like this makes me, think when they say they want to have more character driven stories, these are the kind of stories I feel like you're going to get into. There's been such an emphasis on the Osiris and Saint, love story for a couple of years now, that I feel like we're kind of starting to stretch the limit of what we can do with that, with this season. This season kind of feels like a good, not jumping off point, but just like, okay, yep, they're together. We don't really need to explore this too much more.
Right.
And that's not, me being like, oh, I want to write out like a queer romance or anything. It's just, I feel like we've explored these characters and their relationships so thoroughly over the years that, you got to kind of have somebody else to fill that hole. And I think Drifter and Eris is a natural next step. We joke all the time about Zavala and Keitel, but I do think that's another, even if that's not an actual relationship, it's clear the platonic feelings that they have for each other, they're made very apparent when you play the the post campaign quests in the final shape. She's basically like, I'm gonna make you be a warrior again.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to just go cry in a corner because you got Tarj killed.
Right.
Like, no, you're gonna learn how to fight like a cabal. And I fucking love it. I absolutely love it. Like that, we talk about these special relationships, and they don't even have to be romantic in nature. Just like this one clearly is like built to it and kind of veered that way. Like, this is probably the most explicit confirmation we have that it's veering into that territory.
Yeah.
Or at least they're like the only two that like understand each other. I feel like understand the darkness within each other. And I think that's something that's so special about Destiny's characters, is like they build and build and build to these moments, and then you hit a crescendo. Like they build them up on the lore, and then what you see on screen is the result of those buildups. So if you're going to veer into them, like those are two pretty natural relationships that you veer to, even if they don't turn romantic in any way. Like not every relationship between male and female has to be romantic in nature in games. So, like, I think one of the interesting ones that we had for a while there, I may make fun of her character quite often, but low key, the relationship that Crow and Amanda ended up developing over, 2.5 years there. At first, she was angry when she found out who he is, and it took her quite a long time to open up and warm up to him, and even to the point that when Crow is having his visions, he thinks of her. So the Destiny just has this really interesting way of like making these friendships mean more. And I think when we get passages like this, it makes the cutscenes that these characters share together, or even like the moments when they may be talking in the helm or talking on the radio together, it makes them that much more impactful to me. So, yeah, lore corner.
Some good relationships.
Yeah, relationship advice from Drifter and Eris. we do have a little bit of housekeeping, but this is where we need you guys to give us your feedback. Um, in Discord, y'all can talk about it over in the podcast channel, and I'm dead serious when I ask for this. Um, as we all know, it Season of the Wish was really rough on us.
Yeah.
In terms of there wasn't content for like 3 months there. We were really struggling to do shows. We were barely hitting an hour for some of those weeks. We weren't enjoying ourselves. Y'all weren't enjoying yourself. And I've kind of started to feel like we're inching that way again when we have these content gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So Corey and I have been trying to figure out how to come to a solution with this. And if these episodes are going to be roughly 18 weeks each act about 6 weeks, we want to see explicitly how episode 2 Revenant starts and how they do the content. But if everything really is dropped on that first day, our idea is to shift to doing episodes every other week for the foreseeable future. Fall is going to be really busy on both of us. We're going to have 2 seasonal events during that. We're going to have Thanksgiving. We're going to have Christmas. But splitting it up this way would kind of look something like this for a 6-week act. Episode 1 would be us going over the story. I know that's really hard to, blow through the story in those first 2 days, but, it would give us time to talk about the story for the entire act. Then, talk about the story, talk about initial impressions, the artifact, things like that. Episode 2, which would be 2 weeks later, would give us time to talk about the activities. So any activity that's there, any exotic mission, if it's an exotic mission, if it's battlegrounds, if it's, whatever the fuck arena mode you're getting, something like that. Talk about the mechanics of the season 2. Like we're going to get potion crafting next episode. We'll talk about that there. And in the last week of a given season, which would be, if you're keeping track at home, it would be like weeks 1, 3, and 5. So then we can start the cycle over again. Would be talking about the craftable weapons and the loot you can get in that season, and being able to do like kind of like a lore overview of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the structure we're thinking about. That would also allow us for like that last one to be able to talk about any seasonal event that's going on, like Festival of the Lost or the Dawning or something like that. We can kind of adjust
Mm-hmm.
the flow based on when those things happen.
Yeah.
But that will let us do that more. We obviously stuff from TWABs would be saved up. We'd have to tackle 2 TWABs at a time, which is fine. It is what it is.
Yeah. I think before anybody kind of, it is worth noting that we would actually move Xbox casuals to that every other week slot.
Yes.
So you would still be getting us every week. It would just be, other games talk every other week. And that way it would allow us to like, be more agile of like, oh, well, we need to do 2 weeks in a row of Tower Casuals. Right. So yeah.
Yeah. And it is worth noting that if, for example, a raid or a dungeon were to drop, you would still get that special episode.
Mm-hmm.
That would not be interrupted. I'm not going to wait 2 weeks to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to tackle that as soon as we can.
Yeah.
But the idea would be shifting to every other week. This would make it a little bit less taxing on us. It is kind of hard sometimes to, work with both of our schedules. Like I said, life is going to get really busy this fall for us.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not stuff happening every week, there's really not a lot of this decision is being made because the story is being shifted to dropping all at once.
Yeah.
That is a big driver in this. But if we're enjoying it, we're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna see how it goes this fall.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the intent for us to switch to this. This does not mean Tower Casuals is ending, or we hate Destiny, or we're losing our enthusiasm for it, or anything.
Yeah.
It is rather to keep us from getting burned out on the show. We've done 215 episodes at this point.
Yep. And that's not counting everything else that we've done together.
Yes. This is over 4 years of talking about one specific game. At some point, things have to get broken up. This was the original intent, was that we were going to do this every other week. We weren't going to do this every week. It was just there was so much, and the cadence was so high of stuff coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the only time I've ever had, we used to wonder, like, oh my God, how are we going to fill 6 extra weeks? Then it became, how are we going to do 6 months?
Yeah.
And so the combination of how things have been spread out in episodes so far, and also the catastrophe that was Season of the Wish overall,
Yeah.
from a like content creation standpoint, has kind of led to this decision for us.
Yeah.
But it is worth it. This is not set in stone.
Mm-mm. No.
Like, we will go with what the community thinks, what you guys want. We'll take you guys, you know, your opinion does weigh a lot for us. So let us know what you think. You know, legitimately, let us know what you think. Write in, you know, post in Discord, email us, hit us up on Twitter, whatever. Let us know what you think, because, you know, we want to keep making the best show, and that is the way you're going to get the best show, we feel, is if we switch this to every other week. You'll get, you know, a full-length episode. You won't get like, oh shit, we gotta fill some time here, because otherwise we're gonna be done in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, or oh, there was like a nothing, like last week was a nothing schwab and nothing had happened in game. Way to kind of vamp, you know, and we don't want to get to a point where we're doing that all the time.
Yeah.
Once in a while is fine.
Yeah.
But we don't want that to be all the time. You guys are here for Destiny stuff. We want to keep it Destiny centric, and that's gonna help us do that.
Yeah.
You won't get us, you know, you'll still get like takes on like, oh, you know, hey, Gamescom happened or Game Awards happened. Like, here's like 15, 20 minutes of our thoughts on that, because those are major things. But, you know, you won't get, you know, the 15 minutes of, you know, nonsense about our weeks, essentially.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we have stuff we have to get to, we have to talk about. That lets you all get, you know, more questions, share more of your thoughts with us. We've all had time to kind of sit on things, as opposed to having to rush through content and then react to it 24 hours later. You know, things like that. Like, we do think this is in the best interest of the overall health of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like Josh said, we're going to do what you all think you want and is best. Also, right. I mean, this, like Josh said, this was our intent originally. And this was actually something we pitched 6 months ago at one point too. But, then things started picking up, and, then you and I have kind of been talking behind the scenes of like, well, you know, we've been planning on this, moving Xbox Casuals to the every other Thursday spot for a while, behind the scenes of, I mean, not planning on it, but we've been talking about that, right? And
yeah,
you know, and Josh and I want to do more interviews with people, and this would open up, you know, a Monday for me/us. This would allow us to do more within that space too, and you know, that's I guess we'll see how, you know, episode 2 goes and what the community thinks, but
yep,
we don't.
That's why we're talking about this now. We've got 6 weeks to plan this out.
Yes.
But we do want to see how things go, you know, leading into episode 2. But just like, we're kind of looking down the barrel at, okay, there's 6 weeks, which means 3 weeks of story. There's going to be an exotic mission in there somewhere. What do we even do for the last 3 weeks? Like, the last 3 weeks, oh boy, we're going to have Iron Banner twice. And we might get we'll probably get an anniversary stream in there at some point, which would be nice.
Yeah.
But that's kind of about it. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. It's just not a lot. And that's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for you guys. So yeah.
But we don't want to stop podcasting. We're just kind of you know, change it.
This
up
is
a little
for
bit,
our sanity and for y'all to have a good show still.
Yeah, because we love you. Some of you, except for Ronnie, who's going to die with the servers.
I love Ronnie. I want to be very clear. Like, Ronnie, we tease Ronnie a lot because we like Ronnie.
Yeah.
This show would not be happening without the support of people like Ronnie. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, I was really just kidding.
Oh, I know.
I promise. I know, you know. Some people out there might not know. You know. So, yeah. But should we get out and out of here, Josh?
Let's get on out of here, Corey.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. You can find us on Fridays on your podcast service of choice. You can listen to our sister show, Xbox Casuals. Check out the Jeff Gardner interview we did. We have a couple more cool ones, maybe, possibly, coming up. Also, I interviewed Nick Apostolides, the voice actor for Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil. That episode will be coming out soon. So you can check that out. Josh, thank you for your time as always.
Always.
Where can we find you?
Twitter, Josh_Finn, 2 N's. I'm still there.
Still there. You can find me at I am Corey HD on the socials, Tower Casuals, YouTube. Subscribe, rate, review on podcast services. Thank you everybody for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.